Well, hey everyone, welcome to this Nomadic Idea show where we discuss the uncensored truth about full-time living on the road, whether you are in an RV, van, schoolie, it doesn't make any difference. If you are thinking about a full-time life on the road as a nomad, as a traveler, this show is for you. My name is Scot Ariane from this Nomadic Idea. We stream this show every Sunday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on our YouTube channel, This Nomadic Idea, and our audio version of this show is always available on thisnomadicidea.com every Monday morning at 7 o'clock, or you can catch it on any of your favorite podcatchers like Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, it's iHeartRadio, it's all on there too. So on today's show, we're going to talk about something that is very passionate. It's a hot topic, and it's traveling with your pets. We have seen an uptick on really bad behavior, not only from owners, but from pets themselves. We're going to talk about what the heck is going on, and we're going to share why national parks don't let you take your pet on trails. Campsites are fine, but trails, no go. We're going to tell you why that reason is. We're also going to share a great product that Ariane and I both use that lets you really tell the temperature and humidity levels in your rig, whether it's a van, schoolie, RV, and it sends you a text message for your pet safety. And then we're also going to share some tips on traveling with pets, some safety tips that you need to know, and why that's so important when you are traveling with pets. And then, of course, in the podcast, I share a story that happened last week where two dogs came running at Dino and myself that were off leash. It was crazy. It was kind of scary. So we're going to share that in the audio version of our show. So let's talk about pets.
This is not a drill.
Repeat, this is not a drill.
Shall we begin? Let's begin. Shall we begin?
By the way, we just launched our Facebook group page that is on This Nomadic Idea. You can go to our page on Facebook and then connect to our group where we share information about caravans, meetups. And we're also going to start podcasting from that page. This Nomadic, or Facebook, has invited us to do a podcast. So we're going to start going live, I think, on This Nomadic Idea group. So you can come in, ask questions live right on the show, which I think is going to be pretty cool. So we have noticed lately that there seems to be this anger that's brewing in the RV community and in the nomad community about dogs off leash, people not picking up after their dogs. And we got everyone got a letter. So I'm staying in an RV park, and they don't really offer any amenities at all. But we got this newsletter, and I'd say the majority of the newsletter was say, "Hey, we're cracking down on people that don't clean up after their dogs and walking their dogs off leash." As a matter of fact, they are thinking about implementing fines. Well, what does that mean? Is that going to be a trend moving forward in 2022, 2023? Are RV parks going to start cracking down on the fact that people are not picking up after their pet and their pets are off leash? So in this email or this newsletter we got, it was really talking about, hey, we're tired of it. We don't want to look at this. We're not going to clean it up. It's your responsibility. And as I'm reading this newsletter, and as we're discussing this, I get on social media and I read this comment in a group that I belong to, camping, boondocking for free, and this person was pretty upset. And I'm going to read this to you And I think that is kind of like taking the temperature of the nomad world right now as far as how people are feeling about this. And it's a pretty passionate topic. It's, your dogs, your pets, they're part of your family, right? No one likes someone coming up to you and telling you how to take care of your dog or take care of your pet, right? But this guy just wrote a pretty poignant post. So let me need to read this to you because it was pretty cool. This is what he says. I'm finding it personally appalling, the lack of care of pets this year. Daily or several times a day, there are people losing their pets, fighting with pets, attacking pets. Please, people, control and love your pets. And I read that, and you could almost tell that this person is pretty, he's had it. So it kind of made me think about, like, well, we have 2 dogs, what's been our experience and how we manage to travel with pets, what's our routine with pets. And it really kind of shed some light on the fact that I can understand why people are getting upset. And on the podcast, I talk about last week when I was recording this show at the Verde River, what happened. And it was definitely dogs off leash. And I share that experience and just how scary that was, because Dino was on a leash. I always have Dino on the leash. And there's a reason why national parks want you to have your dog on a leash in campgrounds, and why they don't let you bring your dogs, whether it's on leash or not, on trails. And I've been a hiker, backpacker for about 20 years, and one of the reasons why, or the reason why, that national parks don't let you bring your dogs on trail is this. They used to. And one time it was like, hey, bring your dog on the trail. Let's go have fun. But what was happening was that because people were not leading, hiking with their dogs on leash, their dogs would chase wildlife. Their dogs would chase bear, deer, rabbit. Didn't make any difference. If it moved, that dog was gone. And they were losing their dogs. The dogs were disappearing. And so they would come back to the ranger and say, hey, my dog is gone. And the rangers, back then, would mobilize search and rescue for your pet. And they'd go out there and try to find your dog. Most of the time, the dogs were either found eaten, dead, or they were never found. And so because of the amount of resources that it took to find these pets, the National Park Service said, look, we're spending way too much time putting resources to find, Fluffy. And so Fluffy's probably been eaten by a coyote or a wolf or a bear or picked up by a large bird like a bald eagle. And that's it. So they said, that's it. And that's really where and why the National Park Service, it said no more dogs on the trail. We just can't handle, and it's expending too many resources for us to go out and get those pets. So that's number one reason. In conjunction with that is that BLM land and where you camp for free and you bring Fluffy, we've seen kind of an uptick on dogs going missing. They're going missing because there's more coyotes on BLM land right now than there has been for a long time. Coyotes generally don't have a predator in the Southwest. And so, there's an abundance of coyotes out there. And if you bring your dog to like Quartzsite or Ehrenberg or some of the other big BLM areas that, a lot of people go to, especially in the Southwest, especially like in, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada. We were just in Nevada. There are a ton of coyotes. Arizona, California. You better have your dog on a leash because there's a lot of things that can happen. And we want to talk a little bit about pet safety. And having your dog on a leash, that's pet safety, folks. You're protecting your own pet. Because here are some of the things that happen. Not only is your dog part of the food chain, and even if you have a big dog, let me tell you something. It just came out of Yellowstone. They will take down, wolves can take down a bison, wolves can take down elk. They're going to be able to take down your dog if there's enough of them, and if your dog is lost, and if you're not watching your dog and it's off leash. Absolutely. So you're really protecting your dog. The other thing too is that, especially in high desert areas, low humidity desert areas, you have a lot of snakes and scorpions. Caledonia last year, we think, was stung by a scorpion because her back leg got, really, she was limping. There was a hole in her leg. It looked like where it was stung. And, she's never been able to really fully recover from her back leg as far as her muscle gets sore really quick. So, there are other things out there that are going to screw up your pet if you're not careful. And I get it. Not all the time do you want to put your pet on a leash. I get that. I understand. But like in your camp area or your campground area, if your dog is going to run away or, and if anybody else has their dog that's not on a leash and your dogs meet, it could be bad news. It could be bad news for you. It could be bad news for your dog. So, the desert country and areas where it's more remote, your pet, it's important to have your pet on a leash. I know it sucks, but it's important to have your pet on a leash, and it's important to clean up after your dog or your pet. The other thing that we've kind of seen lately is just the misbehavior of dogs in themselves, where everyone wants a pet, but they're not trained at all. And I'm not saying that you have to take your dog to boarding school, but I've seen a lot lately of dogs just having no simple training. My own brother is one of them. My brother is awful with dogs. He should not have dogs at all. His dogs they know no command, and that man's in a wheelchair. Those dogs are always in front of him and in the way, and it's a bad situation. You can't even eat normally. So, we've seen a kind of uptick in that. So, I think if you have pets, and again, I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about traveling with pets. And, do you take the time to train your dog? Do you take the time to really, you love your pets. They're part of your family, right? So you love your pet, you love your dog, but you also kind of have to be disciplined with your dog too. They're kind of like a child. If you don't teach your child to look both ways when it crosses the street, that's how much you love your family. That's how much you love your dog. So you kind of sometimes have to be a little bit harder on your dog so you can love your dog later on, where you don't have to worry about your dog running away or tripping you over or whatever the case is. So, and because of that, we don't take our dogs everywhere. Sometimes they have to stay in the rig. Sometimes they have to stay in an RV. But one of the things that we do, and this is what I want to share with you, Ariane has been working with dogs for a long time. She worked in a very large dog daycare company and was the general manager of 8 stores that dealt with dogs. We even lived in our apartment in Atlanta. We even lived in part of the dog daycare place. And so we've seen all kinds of dogs, right? And so Ariane has kind of put a good plan for us together when we travel. One of the things that we always do is when we go from town to town to town, and sometimes you're going to stay in a town a little bit longer than a day or 2 days. Let's say you're going to stay there for a week or a month. We always know where the emergency vet care place is. And we always know where dog daycare facility is. The reason we do that is because, you know, emergencies happen, things happen. You know, I almost had to jump up, I almost had to get on a plane right away and travel across the country. Now, I drove and I took my dog, but, you know, if I would have had to get on a plane right away because of an emergency, I would have needed dog daycare. I would have needed someone to watch the dog. You know, when you're traveling, you don't have sometimes the support of your family and friends to help you out. So you're by yourself and you're among strangers. So we always know where the dog daycare place is. We always know where the pet or the emergency vet care place is, because things happen. Like I said, Cal got bit by something. We think it's a scorpion, but, you know, we weren't sure. So there are always things happening. Dino rolls in who knows what all the time, right? So it's always good to have that plan. The other thing Ariane did was she put together a pet first aid kit. So we always have that handy, and that's like, you know, dogs can take Benadryl. Did you know dogs can eat pumpkin when you need to get something out of their stomach that they've eaten, or they have an upset stomach? So these are all things that, you know, she has put together, you know, for our pet first aid kit, and we've used it. You know, we think about ourselves, but we don't think about dogs that can burn their paws on hot sand. Their paws can get scraped and raw, you know, walking around in the desert. I mean, the sand is like sandpaper. I mean, we don't walk around on sandpaper, but, you know, our dogs do. So there's a lot to think about when you're traveling with dogs and having, or pets, and having a plan as far as, hey, you know, Fluffy looks like she's limping. Where do I take her? Do I need to get little dog booties when we go hiking on sand or stone or in rough areas? The Southwest is pretty harsh terrain on dogs. So, you know, getting dog booties or something that can help their paws definitely helps. And the thing is just taking care of your pet, loving your pet, and making sure that your dog or your pet is safe, which is why we use a product that we really super love. It's from Waggle, and this product you plug in and it works on the Verizon cell network. You get one for AT&T also, and what it does is it monitors the temperature in your van or RV or your schoolie. And so if you have to leave your dog and you're going to go shopping for the day, or you're going to go see a tourist attraction, or you're in a national park and they have cell service, but you can't take your dog on the trail, well, this monitor tells you what the temperature is, and it sends you SMS texting. It just sends you a text message, right? And so you're able to see and monitor the temperature, the humidity, and we love it. I'll say this, like, it's just peace of mind. You know, like when I don't know what or how hot the air, and we live in an aluminum beer can, you know, I mean, it's aluminum, so it gets hot pretty quick. So we use it. I'm going to post that link and that product in the description below. I want you guys to go check it out. It's on Amazon. You can get it cheaper on Amazon. It's a subscription service through Waggle. It does work off of Verizon or AT&T cell service. So it runs anywhere between $10 and $16 a month for that product. It gives you real-time update on temperature, real-time update on humidity. So you can get a text message and say, you know what, I didn't think it was that hot outside, but the rig is getting pretty warm. We need to go back and take care of Fluffy. So you guys, you know, pet safety and pet care, people are starting to get a little irritated with the dogs off leash. You know, we were in an event last year in January in Ehrenberg. There's about 10,000 people there, and I could count the dogs that were on leash. I could not count the dogs that were off leash. And I love dogs that come up to me and they're friendly and they're wagging their tail, and that's all good. But sometimes it's irritating when dogs are knocking your stuff over in your campground, or dogs are, you know, taking a crap in front of your rig, or, you know, you're walking and you can't even walk around because there's so much dog poop. I think the temperature is rising in the nomad world for that. So I think if we all kind of work together and just kind of make sure that, you know, it doesn't take anything but a second to leash up your dog. Your dog loves to be with you. It doesn't care whether it's on leash or off leash. Of course, you know, my dog had a hard time, you know, pooping and peeing when it's on leash. So I've got that struggle to work with. That was my fault because I didn't train Dino that way. Because Dino used to be off leash all the time before we started traveling. Now Dino's on leash all the time while we're traveling. You know, unless we're in a big open area and there's nobody else around, obviously I take the dog off leash. But when there's people around, there's other campers, you know, there's other people that have dogs, I really try to keep Dino on the leash as much as we can. And we really kind of make sure our dogs are safe by having a plan, having a first aid kit, knowing where the dog emergency vet place is, and always keeping aware of the temperature that's in our Airstream when we were away and we need to leave the dogs in the rig, especially in summertime. We travel, us nomads, we go from hot, cold, warm, cool all the time. We never know what the temperature is going to be at one specific location. You could be in Montana, or you can come down to Arizona and it could be anywhere from 85 degrees to 20 degrees up north. So having a temperature monitor, I think, is a great idea. So anyway, you guys, thank you so much for coming in. Sunday nights, every night, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Bye.